I will never forget the sound of the first gunshot. It was not far from where I sat. The noise broke into the laughter inside the bus, and before I could even think, another shot followed. The driver screamed and pressed the brake so hard that people fell against each other. That was the moment I knew my life was no longer in my hands. Do you know what happened next? The bus doors opened and men with guns rushed in, shouting at everyone to keep quiet. Their faces were hard, their eyes sharp, and their voices carried no mercy. I could smell the sweat of the man who pointed his gun near my face. He shouted at me to move, and my legs shook as if they didn't belong to me anymore. They dragged us into the bush, pushing and cursing. The ground was muddy because of the Harmattan dew, and thorns tore at my legs. Can you imagine walking barefoot in that kind of place at night with people hitting you if you slowed down? That was how it felt. Some people begged them to let us go, but that only brought more beatings. Inside the forest, the air was thick and damp. I could hear insects buzzing, and sometimes the cry of a bird that made my heart jump. They ordered us to sit down in the dirt, men on one side, women on the other side. I sat so close to strangers that our bodies were touching each other, but nobody spoke to each other for a few moments. It was as if fear swallowed all our voices. Do you know what frightened me the most? It wasn't even the guns. It was the way the men laughed among themselves as if our suffering was entertainment. One of them pointed at a man who looked too old to walk and said, "If he can't move any longer, we will finish him up." My heart sank and I thought, what if they decide to do the same thing to me? A few hours passed slowly. My mouth was so dry, but I dared not ask for water. My body ached, but I dared not stretch. Every small movement felt like it might attract their anger. Once in a while, someone cried quietly, and the sound of that crying went into my bones. I wanted to cry too, but I bit my lip until it bled just to keep silent. I kept thinking of my family waiting in the village for me. They would not know what had happened. They would think I was still on the road, delayed by traffic. But I was here, sitting in the darkness of the forest, not knowing if I would ever see them again. Can you imagine being in that place, wondering if the next sound you hear will be your last? That is how we sat there, waiting for whatever decision these men would make with our lives. Men with guns rushed in, shouting at everyone to keep quiet. Their faces were hard, their eyes sharp,